Before the global financial crisis claimed the headlines, Russia was in the headlines during August this year as the conflict with Georgia in South Ossetia threatened to escalate. The USA's support for Georgia was, in Dmitry Trenin's opinion, symptomatic of the current mistrust between the major powers.
In the case of Georgia, US global hegemony directly clashed with Russia's geopolitical ambitions on the regional level. The situation between the two countries at that time, and I think that the worst has passed, at least for now, but at that time the situation was very dangerous in August this year. And particularly dangerous it was because of the essential asymmetry of the two countries and because of the prevalent thinking in both capitals that the other side is weak and in decline.
It is barely 2 decades since the demise of the Soviet Union. Dmitry Trenin, a former officer in the Soviet armed forces, sees a continuing struggle in Russia between modernizers and those favoring tradition.
I think that they're also getting the message that modernization in the 21st century will, in order to be effective, will need to go beyond the boundaries reached in the previous modernization attempts, either by Peter the Great or Stalin. It has to go beyond military, administrative, and defense industrial modernization to be effective.
His diplomatic experience includes Soviet-US talks in Geneva over nuclear weapons more than 20 years ago. He hopes that President Obama will not adopt a confrontational approach.
The Bush administration has just demonstrated a mild version of that with regard to Georgia. The next administration needs to conclude that NATO's expansion, enlargement, has reached safe limits. And any move in the direction of Ukraine or Georgia is fraught with real danger.
The rest of the world should be clear, in Trenin's view, about what Russia under President Medvedev, and with Vladimir Putin still influential, wants.
Basically, I think what the Russians want under the guise of the security treaty is essentially 3 things. A, no NATO anywhere in the CIS. B, no U.S. forces anywhere in the CIS on a permanent basis, or even on a temporary basis, some ship visits excluded. No support for Russia's enemies, no military support for Russia's enemies like the Georgian regime today. And thirdly, no BMD deployments or other military deployments in the vicinity of strategic nature, in the vicinity of Russia's borders, that would undermine the Russian strategic deterrent.
Long-held assumptions may have to change.
A Europe whose security architecture has been built in the post-Cold War era, basically on 2 foundations, one called the European Union and the other one called NATO, and both linked by rickety footbridges to Russia, is clearly not to Russia's satisfaction. And quite openly, Russia, I think, is a revisionist power that seeks to revise this order.
Trenin says capitalism will continue to change Russia, but this is likely to mean policymakers in the Kremlin will be ever more active on the world stage.